My stepdaughter wants her real dad to give her away, even though he breaks her heart by skipping town and breaking promises he makes to her. My stepdaughter will be getting married on August 3rd. The wedding planning has consumed most of her and her mother's life. I say her mother because we aren't married, though we've lived together for 10 years, for the past 6 months. My stepdaughter graduated last December from university. I paid for her to go to college, though it was a state school, it still ran $40,000. She does not have a job and has been living with us for the duration of her college career and since her graduation. I also bought her a car to get back and forth from school when she finished high school. From time to time her deadbeat father would pop into her life and she would fawn all over him. Although he has not contributed a cent to her education or paid any child support, though that is my girlfriend's fault as CS was not part of the settlement, she still loves him and wants him in her life. He stays long enough to break her heart by skipping town and breaking some promise that he made her. The wedding venue holds 250 people max. I gave them a list of 20 people that I wanted invited, since I was paying for everything. They told me that was no problem and they'd take care of it. So I let these people know they'd be getting an invite and they should save the date. Saturday, I saw one of my friends on this list at the golf course and asked if he was coming. He told me that he wasn't invited. He told me that he got an announcement, but not an invitation. He had it in his back seat, along with probably 6 months of mail, and showed it to me. Sure enough, it was just an announcement, and my name was nowhere on it. It had her dad's name and her mom's name and not mine. This led to a pretty big fight with my girlfriend, as I found out that none of my list of 20 made the cut for the final guest list because 250 people is very tight. I was pissed, but not a hell of a lot I could do because the important people in my life had already been offended. My girlfriend said, if some people didn't RSVP yes, I might be able to get a couple people in. But that is an ultimate slap in the face in my opinion. So I was boiling on Saturday. Yesterday we had a Sunday dinner with the future in-laws family and us and a surprise guest, the real dad. At this little dinner my stepdaughter announced that her real dad was going to be able to make it to her wedding and that now he'd be able to give her away. This was greeted with a chorus of, "Oh how great and how wonderfuls." I don't think I have ever felt so angry and so disrespected. I was shaking. I took a few seconds to gather my composure because I honestly wasn't sure if I would cry or start throwing punches or both. Once I was sure I'd be able to speak I got up from my chair and said I'd like to make a toast. I can't remember exactly what I said but the gist of it was this. I'd like to make a toast. The sound of spoons against glasses rings in my ears. It has been my great pleasure to be a part of this family for the past 10 years. Ah, how sweet. At this point in my life I feel I owe a debt of gratitude to the bride and groom, because they have opened my eyes to something very important. Confident smiles exchanged. They have shown me that my position in this family is not what I once thought it was. And now a glimmer of confusion and shock begins to spread on the faces in the room. Though I once thought of myself as the patriarch or godfather of the family, commanding great respect and sought out help in times of need, it seems instead that I hold the position of an ATM, good for a stream of money, but not much else. As I have been replaced as host, both on the invitations and in the ceremony, I am resigning my financial duties as host to my successor, real dad. So cheers to the happy couple and the path they have chosen. I finished my drink. You all can let yourselves out. Is this selfish? I'm supposed to shell out 40-50 grand for a wedding that I can't invite anyone to? That I am not a part of? I'm so done with this crap. I'm done with my stepdaughter. I'm done with my girlfriend. I transferred the money out of our joint account last night. She has not had a job since she moved in with me. This morning I called all the vendors I had written checks for deposits to refund my money. At present it looks like I'll lose around $1,500 for the venue, but the other vendors have been great about refunding. Too long, didn't read. You want your real dad to be on the invitation, to give you away and to sit at the head table. Fine, your real dad can pay for everything too. Update 1. The immediate aftermath was a tantrum and people sitting there mumbling while not actually saying anything to me, but to each other. After much yelling with the GF about me being selfish, I spent the night in my home office and no one knocked on my door, not once. Today's aftermath is kind of depressing for me. GF brought me bride's wedding planner to show me how much work I was ruining. I thumbed through it, found a page in the music section for father-daughter dances. All of the songs were catered to real dad's taste. So I thought they were just being disrespectful, but now I'm feeling like they never really gave a crap at all, especially since the menu included 2 ingredients I'm allergic to, that actually made me laugh. Either way, I'm glad to be done, returned to the planner and asked her when she and the bride could move out. Also, I never promised to pay for the wedding. I offered them the use of my home when they were sure it was going to be small, but other than that, all I've heard is how it's the bride's family that should pay. So, let it be the bride's family then, aka, not me. Final update. Girlfriend and bride are now moved out. They are moving in with the groom. It was very hard not to be petty with some of the belongings they took with them, but it's done and I switched out the locks and now it's time for a brew. I can't believe how popular this story got, but I feel good to be given support by so many. If I find out what happens with the wedding, I will let you know, but I can't guarantee that I will put in the effort to find out. From what I've heard, they are trying to scale things back and get his parents to help out. GF burned bridges when I found out she tried to write herself a check on our joint account the day after the unpleasantness. By then I had already moved money, so I guess I'm a bigger ass than her, but I could feel it coming. That's all. Thanks. Now to the next story. Story 2. Am I the A for keeping the truth from my wife? Our baby's death was my fault, and I couldn't bear to tell her the devastating reality. I, male 25, and my wife, female 24, had our daughter Angela last year in November. We met at university. We dated for 2 years and got married after graduating. It's our first marriage and we are very in love. My wife, who we will call Kim, got pregnant during our honeymoon and we were both very excited. My parents are out of the picture and Kim only grew up with her dad. We both knew that we wanted to have children and give them the best life we could. Kim's pregnancy was normal. It was our first child. The baby was born healthy and beautiful. She had perfect chubby legs and round face. I never thought that one day I could love a woman more than I love Kim, but my daughter stole my heart completely. Everything was perfect, but we were very nervous. Since we didn't know anything about babies, Kim's father constantly called us and also gave me advice. My grandmother also taught us how to change her correctly and feed her. We were blessed with a lot of help. Kim's family came from their home country to meet our daughter for Christmas. They were going to stay until the new year, but on December 28th Kim's father had a heart attack and was taken to the emergency room. We went to the hospital and my father-in-law had to remain under observation since his condition was serious. To give you an idea, he might not wake up again. I told my wife that I would stay with her, but Kim asked me to go with Angela home. Whatever had to happen, would happen in the next 24 hours. She didn't want to leave her father's side, but she didn't want to leave the baby at the hospital all night. We agreed that I would stay at home with Angela and she would stay at home with her father and her relatives at the hospital. The next 24 hours passed and my father-in-law began to improve, so the stay was extended to 48 hours, and for 72. Kim came to get some clothes and see our daughter and she returned to the hospital. Due to her concern, I had not slept in those 2 days, so after giving her bottle to my daughter I put her to sleep and I myself fell asleep. When I woke up it was almost night. Angela was still asleep, so I decided to have a coffee and watch television. After 2 hours I decided to check on her and she seemed asleep. However, my heart stopped when I realized that she had vomited, and when I picked her up she was cold. And I wasn't breathing. I panicked. I shook her, I patted her on the back, I just desperately wanted her to breathe again. I called an ambulance begging for help. The operator gave me instructions to do CPR. When the doctors arrived we immediately went to the hospital. I called to Kim and between my mess of tears and hyperventilation I tried to tell her what was happening. When we arrived she was already there. Kim cried and screamed at the doctors begging to save her. I did too. They did everything they could for about an hour, but in the end there was nothing to do. My baby died at only a month old. They explained to us that Angela had vomited while she was sleeping and choked on her own vomit. She tried to calm us down by explaining that this can happen and that it wasn't our fault. Kim and I are a mess. I haven't told her that I fell asleep while my daughter was dying. I haven't told her that I killed my daughter. I want to end all of this. I can't continue with this. I miss her. I want to hear her crying. Having her in my arms. I want to change her diapers, change her clothes. I want to hug her with all my strength. I want to see her. I miss her so much. I hate myself so much. It should be me and not her. It's my damn fault. I want all this pain. It's over. I want to end everything. Relevant comments stoked for breakfast. Not the asshole. I'm a doctor. This does happen. Not just to children but also to old adults who aren't able to adequately manage their own secretions, etc. See a therapist and a psychiatrist. Both are better than just one. And you'll get through it. You're not the asshole. At all. Sometimes bad things happen. It sucks. Mary Moose 923, not asshole. Please get grief counseling. This is not your fault. Even if you and your wife weren't dealing with a family emergency, and even if you weren't exhausted, your darling baby could have passed in exactly the same way during the night, or a nap. Even the doctor told you that it wasn't your fault. Like any other parent, You feel responsible for what happened. That's natural. So please get therapy. If not for yourself, think of your wife. How would she cope with losing both you and your daughter? Also, encourage your wife to get therapy. She's hurting as much as you are. New post, wife's post. Editor's note, below is the wife's post placed in the correct section of the timeline to assist with the context. Her post took place 4 days after OP's post. Plus added paragraph breaks for readability. It's not easy for me to talk about this. It happened very recently and I don't like talking about my problems with strangers either. But right now, I, female 24, feel alone and lost because I can't talk to anyone. This is the situation. As the title says, my baby died recently and my family is broken. This happened on New Year's while my husband, male 25, was taking care of her. My family, my father male 66, my aunt female 57 and my 2 cousins female 28 male 30, had come to visit my husband and I to meet our newborn daughter for Christmas. I told my father that we could go ourselves halfway through this year, 2024, since due to his delicate health I was worried about him making such a long trip, but he insisted because he wanted to meet his granddaughter. For a few days everything was fine. My dad loved my daughter very much. He kept saying that she was just like me when I was born. I was able to see my cousins and my aunt again. She was the closest thing I've ever had to a mother. Everything was fine until my dad started feeling bad a few days after Christmas dinner. In a moment he just collapsed due to severe chest pain. It didn't take us long to understand that it was because of his heart. So we took him to the emergency room where he stayed for at least 3 days. During all that time, my husband stayed at home with my daughter, because I did not want to leave my father, since his condition was serious at first. When he started to get better I went back to my house to see how my daughter was doing. I felt calm when I saw that my husband was taking good care of her on his own. However, I asked him if he needed me to stay with him. He told me to be calm, that he would take care of everything and that I focused on accompanying my dad. My husband knows how important my father is to me, so I was grateful to have a man like him supporting me. I returned calmly to the hospital, but a few hours later my husband called me crying. It took him a while to calm down enough to tell me that my baby was dying. He had drowned. I remember very little what happened after that call. At one point my husband had already arrived at the hospital with my daughter, but they were unable to save her. Before you think it was negligence, no, my husband did not neglect her. The doctor explained to us that the baby died of sudden infant death syndrome. She choked on her own vomit while she was sleeping. My husband could not have prevented it unless he had been watching her non-stop. 24 hours a day, so no, it wasn't his fault. My daughter's body was cremated as my culture dictates, and her ashes are now in my house, in her room. The most difficult thing was to tell my father. He woke up from his comatose state on January 1st, but I couldn't go see him until the next day. Prudently, my father had not been told anything about what happened. I tried to put good face until my father asked to see my daughter. I tried to excuse myself, but eventually he had to find out only a couple of days later. I wish he hadn't told me since it caused him to relapse, and this time, it has taken him a long time to recover. During the entire month of January my cousins returned home, but father stayed with me at my house along with my aunt to help me take care of him. My husband practically stopped doing anything. I focused all my energy on taking care of my father and maintaining the house in order. It was a longer and more difficult time for everyone. My father was finally able to return to his house on January 30th, and since then it's just my husband and I. He doesn't talk to me, he doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep well, he can't work, he works from home, he doesn't want to talk to anyone, not even me. My family has tried to talk to me, but I don't want to talk either. I just ask for updates on my father. I don't let them ask me about anything else. For my part, I'm back to work and I'm thinking about taking extra hours since I spent part of my savings on hospital bills. But I really want to get away from my house. I feel like I'm suffocating there. I can't get into my baby's room without crying. My husband, for his part, spends most of his day there. I don't know what to do. I cry to my baby every night. I cry into his clothes, his stuffed animals, his blankets, until I fall asleep. Now I'm eating twice as much. I devour the portions that my husband doesn't want, and I keep asking for more. The house is a disaster. I feel like we are both dying and we are doing nothing to prevent it. Relevant comments leader_inside. I think you need to read this. It sounds like your husband posted it a few days ago. It was deleted, but I found the post on Reddit. I'm so unbelievably sorry for your loss. I'm 34 weeks pregnant with a baby girl right now. I read the other post shortly after it was posted and haven't stopped thinking about your family. Please consider getting professional help for yourself and your husband if you can get him to agree. If you ever want to scream into a void who will just listen, please feel free to DM me. I'm praying for peace and healing for your family. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss. Edit to add, not the wife. My God, it's him. I have to talk with him big_fly_1561. I'm so sorry I can even be able to imagine the pain and heartbreak. Just take it 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. Anytime you can do something for yourself, do it, but the main thing is to focus on working through the grief. When you are ready to talk, I would suggest you and your husband do both individual counseling and marriage counseling. A loss like this is incredibly hard on both of you individually and as a couple. Try not to lose your husband or yourself. This wasn't anyone's fault, and I hope in time you and your husband can work through the grief and pain and find joy in life once more. My heart goes out to you. The fact that you're even here expressing this story shows how strong you are. Wife. Thank you very much. I don't want to lose my marriage. We haven't talked about divorce. Actually, we haven't talked at all. I know we need therapy. Thank you for your words. Update. Hello. Am I the A? I came here a few months ago to vent about the loss of my daughter. To be honest, I didn't see the post until a week later and I saw that my account was suspended. It's not important since it was just a discard account. So I opened another one just to let you know that I have read all your comments. Kim and I we are fine. However, we are in the process of being fine. Kim is also an active Reddit user and saw my post. We talked a lot, we cried, and I have to say I'm glad she saw it. Since Angela is not with us, I have spent most of the time in her room, and Kim returned to work very quickly since she no longer needed maternity leave. But our therapist gave us a lot of advice on how to deal with grief. I have been diagnosed with depression and I'm working on it with the help of Kim. She's also in therapy. We support each other in every way we can. My father-in-law is as well as can be. He recovered, but he hasn't been well since we told him about Angela. Kim calls him practically every day. She can't do much more since he lives in another country and it's already difficult enough for us. Right now we are looking to sell our house and move to a smaller place. We bought the house thinking about having a big family, but we are going to postpone that for the moment. No matter how broken I am inside, my wife is my priority right now, so I have to prioritize my marriage. I will not update again. I wanted to assure all the noble souls who supported us that we are still here and we appreciate your words and support. You're all wonderful people. God bless you. Relevant comments. Dehydrated rain. Absolutely heartbreaking, but it might be better for her. Staying home and unoccupied gives the mind a lot more time to focus on the empty room and intrusive thoughts. 8 hours of work distraction and a good therapist/psych might speed up healing. I'm not saying this to sound callous. I speak from personal experience. Family emergencies for 2 people, but not as bad as this story. Krazi 11. A part of me just broke seeing her comment, my God, it's him. 2 parents grieve the loss of their newborn baby. Neither can handle that grief and are rapidly slipping away, and they're both so hurt that they can't even talk to each other about it due to all the guilt and heartbreak. They both reach out to strangers online hoping for a place to vent, have unbiased people judge their actions, and just some place to put this all down. Without the members of these communities pointing out how similar her post was to her husband's, they might still be both grieving alone. He would still be shattered in that room contemplating suicide and feeling like it was all his fault, and she would be working herself to death. To all those involved, their child died and that's beyond a tragedy, but you might have just saved their lives. Catmo, I remember reading the original post by my husband when it was new. I had no idea there was an update. I'm so glad there was one. The original has been living rent-free in my head ever since I read it. This was definitely a tough read. I'm so glad this worked in their favor and helped them get the help they each so desperately need. As a parent, things happen all the time that are out of our control. Even if it's something completely out of our hands, I think it's a pretty natural response to blame ourselves in some way. We're supposed to be their protectors. It's hard to remind ourselves that it is literally impossible to protect them every second of every day, but it is oh so important. You can drive yourself mad with that kind of worry. He could have been sleeping right next to her bed and still not been able to do anything to save her. These kinds of things tend to be silent and happen quickly. I'm glad that Kim understood this and didn't blame him or resent him for it. It's easy for one parent to do to the other. It's hard to not have someone to blame in a truly blameless situation. I hope one day he will be able to truthfully tell himself that this was not his fault. It's going to take time, but with them supporting each other, they will get there eventually. Losing a child is not something you ever get over. They will never really recover from this, and that's okay, but hopefully they can learn how to manage their grief in a healthy way and remember their baby fondly. To any parents out there who have lost a child, I am deeply sorry for your loss.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.